Just at that moment, the phone alarm rang, catching Sura's attention. She opened it to see a message from Jin Kyung. She had just sent her a music video and said, "Even if you're worried, just watch it." At that moment, Sura didn't know how to react. She stood there frozen for a few seconds before she suddenly realized in shock. Wasn't this her new music video? She had been so distracted these past few days that she had forgotten about it. Sura quickly clicked on the link to watch it with anticipation. In the music video, there appeared a girl with long, shiny hair. When the girl turned around, her stunning beauty left Sura exclaiming in astonishment. She couldn't believe that this person was actually her. So that's how it is, director Jang Min-seon is amazing. Moreover, I thought it was great on the set, but it's so different. Usually, it would only take a moment for it to climb the charts, but this time it's going to be huge. Sura was so anxious she couldn't wait to see the reactions of netizens in the comment section below. As she had predicted, there were many comments expressing love for the choreography and music of this product. Scrolling through the comments, Sura's eyes lit up when she read people's remarks about her appearance. Some viewers even recognized her as the supporting actress in the film Summer Snow. That person also praised her acting skills, although she hadn't been noticed much. Those words moved Sura to the point where she had to cover her mouth to contain the overwhelming joy bursting from her heart. She nearly collapsed from the unexpected happiness. Deep down, she still hoped that this time there would be a change. He looked out at the night sky beyond the glass window of the high-rise building. The bright lights were like galaxies. This city was as dazzling as a meteor shower with millions of lights. Early the next morning, Sura finally returned to Se-Yoon Hyun's company to sign the contract. Wang-soo cheerfully brought her the complete contract and said, "If you don't need me to explain anything, just sign below." Sura picked up the pen, still feeling a bit nervous. Finally, she signed her name on the contract. Wang-soo picked it up, checked it once more, then happily announced, "All right, this means the contract is done." This time, not only did Sura breathe a sigh of relief, but others also felt jubilant. Wang-soo said to Sura, "I wish you all the best in the next 5 years." Sura quickly thanked him, hugging the contract to her chest with great appreciation. "For the first time in 7 years since my debut, I finally have my first contract. From today, it's a fresh start with trustworthy hands." Se-Yoon Hyun turned to Sura and flashed a sunny smile that could win any girl's heart. Sura told herself that even though she was living under her lover's protection, she would never rely on him. The more difficulties she faced, the more she knew she would become stronger and more confident. After that day, when Sura returned home to Jin Kyung, her sister saw her off. "Sura, I'm leaving now," Jin Kyung said. Sura cheerfully replied, "It's been a while since we've had time to rest together." Jin Kyung responded excitedly, "Yes, yes. This is the last break before you become a top star. This is your last break." Hearing this, Sura could only helplessly say, "Why is my sister so funny?" Jin Kyung, noticing Sura's attitude, asked with some concern, "Aren't you happy? Things change every day, and eventually, you'll become unbelievably famous, right?" Sura could only agree quickly and then hastily shooed her nosy sister away. "Yes, yes, all right, go on now and bring back lots of squid." Jin Kyung replied, "Okay, I'll bring so much that you'll burst from eating while cutting the squid heads." After signing her first contract, Sura quickly felt the power of the company. She just needed to stay home and search for her own name to be utterly surprised. Her personal profile, which had once been forgotten in the industry, was now at the top of search results. Articles about her were spreading widely. The joy felt like a sweet dream, leaving her somewhat bewildered and unaccustomed. Time seemed to have stopped 7 years ago but now had caught up in the blink of an eye, and she still couldn't fully grasp it. Sura sighed softly and gently closed her laptop. She stretched tiredly. "My sister won't be back from the countryside for another 2 days, she thought. My senior said there's a fan meeting today." After pondering for a moment, she quickly changed clothes, grabbed her bag, and prepared to head out with great excitement. "I need to go to the company to practice. Now I don't need to rent a room anymore." As soon as Sura arrived at the company, she was warmly welcomed. "Welcome, Sura. Are you here to practice?" She thoughtfully bought a coffee for the receptionist, who gratefully thanked her. After that, Sura eagerly ran to the elevator. I can use the room for free if I want, and if necessary, I can request real lessons from the company. People don't just sign contracts for nothing. Just then, a familiar voice sounded beside her. She quickly turned to see who it was and, to her surprise, it was Kong Li. He looked at her in astonishment and asked, "Are you the person in Ni's MV?" Suddenly being recognized made Sura so embarrassed that she froze, unable to say anything. He was Kong Li, an actor who had risen in the rankings 2 years after his debut and was considered romantic by many women. But why was Kong Li here? Standing in front of Sura, he blushed and fumbled like a fan meeting their idol for the first time. "Sorry, I was just surprised, but you are Senior Wang Sura, right?" Sura suddenly froze on the spot. "Senior? I've been debuting for 7 years, but that term still feels unfamiliar." Kong Li, even more flustered, explained, "I don't doubt it at all. I'm actor Kong Li. It's a pleasure to meet you, Senior." Sura, still bewildered, replied, "Of course, I know who you are. You're Kong Li." Unexpectedly, this talented young man had a special fondness for his seniors. As soon as Sura responded, he beamed, "You know me? I became your fan after watching Ni's MV. I read in the news that you signed with MK, but I never thought I'd meet you like this." Although she officially had a boyfriend, standing before this incredibly charming smile, Sura had to admit she was truly surprised. Everyone would go crazy over that smile, and he was a great actor too. However, just then, his manager called out because he was late, so Kong Li hurriedly bowed to Sura and disappeared like the wind. "Excuse me, Senior." Sura also warmly greeted back, feeling somewhat unfamiliar being greeted like that for the first time. Standing from a distance, she could still hear the two of them chatting animatedly. "Hey, today you did really well," that person said to Kong Li. "Please don't disappear like that." Somehow, at this moment, Sura felt herself being captivated by that smile. When Wang Su heard Sura's story about meeting Kong Li, he burst into laughter and asked, "Kong Li, is that friend of yours really friendly, isn't he? How did you meet him?" "So, Kong Li also signed a contract with MK this time," Sura nodded and said. "So that's it. I was really surprised to see him stepping out and treating me like a superstar." Wang Su innocently said, "In the future, you'll be a superstar too, Sura." Hearing this, Sura wasn't sure whether to feel encouraged or pressured and only replied, "I will try my best." Wang Su, using his reputable face, assured her, "We will help you to the fullest. Actually, we should call him Mr. Mun." He gave up being a manager and started working for the seniors company because of the brand power of Kong Sung-hyun. Although MK is a new company, it seems to have many prominent faces, from superstar Chang Hoonjo to Song Jina. Mentioning this name brings a pain. When Sura first heard that Song Jina had signed with MK, she was very surprised because she was also the one secretly dating her senior. And it seems the senior didn't know that person was Song Jina. Wang Su, noticing her sudden change in expression, asked Sura, "Do you have any plans for today?" She immediately replied that she was free today. Seeing this, Wang Su suggested, "Why don't you sneak into Se-Yun Hyun's fan meeting? After the meeting, he has to go down to Busan." Sura hadn't thought of this idea, but she quickly accepted, afraid that Wang Su might change his mind. Wang Su happily supported her, saying that Chang Hoonjo's schedule was here today, so she could use Chang Ji-hoon's car and he would call the manager. Since the manager knew about their relationship, there was no need to worry. At first, Sura was very confident, but when it came time to prepare to leave, she hesitated and asked if this plan was really okay. Wang Su smiled at her as he dialed the manager's number, saying, "Of course, today is a special day, so we should give a gift to Se-Yun Hyun. Manager Lee, can you come right away?" Sura felt a bit nervous thinking about the special day, as it had been a long time since he had a fan meeting in Korea, and she couldn't believe she might meet her senior. Just thinking about it made her eyes light up like headlights. "Thank you so much, Boss Mun," she exclaimed. Okay, he replied. Sura was quickly driven to the television station. She hesitantly apologized to the driver, saying, "I'm sorry, Manager Lai. You have work today, and because of me, you have to go far." Manager Lee chuckled and reassured her, "It's all right. Anyway, I have to go to the television station for a meeting with fans today. Hearing this, Sura's heart raced with excitement. Upon arriving at the television station, she looked around eagerly, hoping to spot her boyfriend among the crowd. However, she only saw a throng of people outside the station, all presumably fans of her senior. This moment is amazing, she thought to herself as she navigated through the crowd. Suddenly, her attention was drawn to a banner with Se-Yoon Hyun's picture on it, along with the words Happy Birthday. Sura froze in place, leaving Manager Lee surprised as he asked her why she looked so shaken. Trembling, she pointed outside and then turned to ask Manager Lee, "Isn't today just a banner hanging over there? I saw the words birthday." Unexpectedly, Manager Lee calmly replied, "Yes, it's Sung Hyun's birthday today, isn't it? You didn't know?" Sura was even more astonished. She remembered Wang Su mentioning that today was a special day for Se-Yoon Hyun and suggested they should give him a gift. Could this be what he meant? Overwhelmed by the situation, Sura was at a loss for what to do. Just then, the car came to a stop, and Manager Lee indicated that they had arrived. Sura turned to Manager Lee and said, "Wait a moment. I didn't know it was his birthday today, so I haven't prepared anything. Is there any nearby shopping center?" Manager Lee smiled brightly and replied, "Is there any gift more meaningful than your unexpected appearance? Anyway, he doesn't lack anything, does he?" He then handed Sura a bag and said, "This is from Manager Mun for you." While Sura was still rejoicing, wondering if this could be the prepared gift for her senior, she found inside the bag a coat and a disguise to look like an employee of the company. Manager Mun suggested wearing the disguise so that no one would recognize her, and as for herself, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In the lobby of the television station, the staff were bustling about, and Sura, disguised as a spy, stood hiding in a corner, unsure of what to do. She exclaimed, "There are so many people gathered here." She was certain no one would recognize her in this disguise. However, Manager Lee mentioned that if she went to the employee area, another manager would guide her. Upon entering, she unexpectedly met another manager there, who greeted her, causing Sura to startle and stammer an apology. The manager, puzzled, said, "I'm sorry, did I startle you?" Sura regained her composure and replied, "No, I should be the one apologizing. You're busy." The manager reassured her, "No worries. He'll be very pleased. Over there is the waiting room. Please hurry." Sura quickly thanked him and hurried away, being careful to avoid people passing by. Just then, a female staff member walked out of the room, causing Sura to startle and flinch. "Excuse me, I need to use the restroom. I'll be back once I'm done changing," the woman said. Luckily, the staff member walked in a different direction and didn't notice anything unusual about Sura being there. Sura's heart raced with anticipation, feeling like it might leap out of her throat as she cautiously opened the door and stepped into the waiting room. Inside, there was only an eerie silence. Bewildered, she wondered where her senior had gone. At that moment, from the direction of the changing room, came the sound of rustling. Sura silently pondered that her senior must be changing clothes. What should she do? It would be embarrassing if she appeared boring. Sura thought for a moment and decided to make a dramatic entrance. Yes, she would pretend to be a staff member until he noticed her. But first, she wondered what she could do to make an impression in the room. Unfortunately, footsteps outside the hallway echoed along with someone's voice. "Kong Se-Yoon Hyun, are you ready yet? You need to use the restroom, don't you?" This sudden turn of events threw Sura's plans into disarray. The other staff member returned, and Sura still hadn't figured out how to make her entrance. She needed to act quickly. As the waiting room door opened and the staff member entered, finding it empty, she turned to the changing room. It was strangely quiet inside. "Are you finished changing yet?" the staff member called out, but there was no response. Because Sung Hyun was still locked his mouth inside. Feeling desperate, Sura rushed into the changing room and covered her boyfriend's mouth with her hand to prevent him from making any sudden noises. "Who's there?" Se-Yoon Hyun asked softly. Sura signaled him to stay quiet while she carefully removed her mask. "It's me, your senior," she whispered. The staff member outside, not hearing any response, asked again, "Kong Sung Hyun, is anyone there?" Still, there was no answer. This puzzled the girl. Is he in the restroom? Suddenly, laughter erupted from inside the changing room. He finally speaks. Sorry, I'll come out now. Sung Hyun finally responded. What's going on? Are you joking with me? The girl asked, bewildered by the situation. Meanwhile, in the changing room, Seyun Hyun continued to smile brightly, while Sura still felt awkward and couldn't calm down. Seyun Hyun squinted and whispered, Why is that, dear? Sura shyly turned back to look at him before quickly pulling out her phone and composing a text message for him to read. I wanted to surprise you, but ended up surprising myself instead. Why didn't you mention that today is your birthday? However, instead of answering her question, Seyun Hyun just showed an innocent expression in response to Sura's interrogation. Sura continued to write a message, expressing her frustration. What's your reaction? I'm the only one who doesn't know it's my boyfriend's birthday today, while everyone else does. Unexpectedly, when he finished reading, Seyun Hyun burst into a bright smile. He took Sura's phone, revealing his well-defined muscles as he typed a message slowly. Are you mad at me? Sura stood frozen for a few seconds, processing the alluring image in front of her. Seyun Hyun continued his message, saying that he now felt like they were dating. This made Sura blush intensely, inwardly cursing him for being too much at the wrong time to discuss that. Seyun Hyun responded, asking what she was planning to do now, reminding her not to forget where they were. Sura, still flushed with embarrassment, attempted to say something but gave up, lowering her head. Inadvertently, she caught sight of his well-built muscles, which only added to her tension. Her face was as red as a tomato as she quickly turned away, apologizing and asking him to get dressed, after seeing enough. Seeing her demeanor, Seyun Hyun seemed delighted. He reached out, pulled her back, and embraced her tightly. Sura turned back, looking at him shyly and softly calling, Sunbae, what are you doing? We'll get caught like this. But Seyun Hyun didn't care about her struggle. He didn't let go, instead pulling her even closer. Seyun Hyun bent his head down towards Sura's face, making her inner voice scream, oh no, not here. Despite her worries, she secretly enjoyed the feeling of being loved and cherished. Just then, an employee called out, Seyun Hyun, there's no more time. The urgent call forced the secretly dating couple to stop. Seyun Hyun finally let go of Sura and put on his jacket. He told her, I'll be right back. You stay hidden here for a while. With that, he stepped out of the changing room, apologizing to the employee for the delay. The female staff member grumbled a bit, asking why he took so long to change, then helped him adjust his hair again. Sura, inside the dressing room, finally exhaled a sigh of relief and slumped to the floor. Her face was still uncontrollably red. My heart feels like it's going to explode. Calm down, Wang Sura, calm down, she whispered to herself. She couldn't believe that Seyun Hyun thought they were truly dating, and the realization hit her deeply. Even when dating, we hardly ever meet. But I can't expect more from someone as busy as he is. I didn't even know it was his birthday, and I still call him Sunbae. Her naive thoughts swirled in her mind. Suddenly, Sura had an idea and quickly sent a message. Seyun Hyun opened it to find her saying, I just remembered what I should give you. He replied cheerfully, asking what she had in mind. Sura took a deep breath, her face growing even redder as she carefully composed her message. After much consideration, she hit send. When Seyun Hyun received the message, he was slightly surprised, but then his lips curled into a smile. Without a word, he abruptly stood up, surprising his assistant. He walked back towards the dressing room, explaining that he had forgotten his watch inside. Pushing aside the curtain, he saw Sura curled up in the corner, looking puzzled at his sudden reappearance. Seyun Hyun swiftly bent down close to her and whispered, I've just gone crazy because of you. This time, not allowing any interruptions, he leaned in and placed a sweet kiss on Sura's lips. In her hand, the message she had sent him read, Happy birthday, my love. After that, Hyung-sun went on a business trip to Busan. Sura's life returned to its usual routine, filled with busy projects and work. Soon enough, it was spring, and cherry blossoms were blooming all over the city. Sura marveled at the sight, exclaiming to her friend, Look, it's so beautiful, Jin Kyung. Jin Kyung agreed, yes, we don't even need to go anywhere else to see the cherry blossoms. While shopping, Sura noticed couples happily walking arm in arm down the street. She admired them and wondered if she and her sunbae would ever be able to enjoy the blossoms together. She glanced up at a building across the street, which had a billboard featuring Seyun Hyun, and sighed, it's a pity that such simple activities like viewing cherry blossoms are so difficult for us. Since the fan meeting, Seyun Hyun had been inundated with international activities. On top of that, MK Entertainment and a film production company were gearing up for a new live-action movie, making things even more challenging. Besides the main production companies and the stars in the script, this project was the biggest endeavor that the company was putting all its efforts into, featuring top stars from MK. At first, I was also preparing for this movie, so I received the script. It's going to be a huge success because it's incredibly interesting, so much so that I never get tired of memorizing my lines. Jin Kyung was driving and remarked, now that I think about it, isn't Seyun Hyun in Seoul today? Sura confirmed this and added, today is the press conference for the live show. Hearing this, Jin Kyung got excited, wondering aloud, do you think this live show will surpass the 50 million mark? Sura smiled and replied, even if it doesn't, it's still amazing, isn't it? Jin Kyung shook her head and insisted, no, it has to reach 50 million. There were 30 rounds of auditions, and our Sura played a major part and will become a star. Sura, overwhelmed by her friend's confidence, reminded her, hey, I'm just a supporting actress. You know that, right? Just participating is already an honor. But Jin Kyung's words seemed prophetic, and unexpectedly, it indeed happened to Sura's surprise. What? I'm going to play the role of you? Wang Su happily confirmed, yes, because Jin, the original actor for this role, couldn't perform due to a project in Hollywood. Sura, have you read the script yet? Jin Kyung's gossiping spirit ignited, why didn't you tell me? Kong Lee is super famous these days. Sura, her cheeks slightly flushed, replied, I know. But he's bright and friendly. Besides, you is a really interesting role, and it's the one I want to play even more than the lead. This is truly an opportunity for me. That day, she went to have tea with her boyfriend and also expressed her joy and excitement about her role this time. Seyun Hyun, feeling curious, asked, do you like it that much? Sura smiled and replied, of course. If it's you, then I'll have the chance to work with you, senior, that's awesome. Seyun Hyun wasn't very pleased and said, it's not playing the lover's role. Why do you like being my younger sister? Sura didn't see any problem with it, why not? As long as we get to act together, it's fine. Her radiant smile made Seyun Hyun feel happy as well. Suddenly, he wanted to tease her, alright, then you have to act the kissing scene naturally. Sura pouted and asked, does you also have a boyfriend? They don't have any kissing scenes. If you read the script, you should know that. Sura turned away, feigning a sulky mood, then the scriptwriter should add it in. Seyun Hyun laughed without any jealousy. She winked at him, by the way, who is your co-star? Has it been decided yet? Seyun Hyun answered immediately, yes, it has. Sura excitedly asked who it was, but when she heard it was Song Jina, her smile disappeared instantly. The silly Seyun Hyun, seeing her frozen like that, thought she hadn't heard clearly and repeated it once more. Sura, feeling flustered, thought, no need to repeat it. Why Song Jina? Logically, Jina might be suitable for the main role, but considering everything. At that moment, she turned to look at Hyun and noticed the back of his hand was red from a small wound. Curiously, she asked, Senior, what happened to your hand? It's hurt, isn't it? Seyun Hyun, not wanting her to worry, quickly hid his hand in his pocket. It happened while filming in Busan. It's nothing. Sura held out her hand and said, let me see it. But he still hid it and reassured her that it was nothing. Speaking softly didn't work, so Sura had to use a stronger approach. She quickly grabbed his hand and lifted it, then let me see. His hand showed clear scratches, making Sura worry, when did this happen? It's still swollen. I'm fine, it doesn't hurt at all. What kind of scenes made you get hurt? Just some action scenes. Seyun Hyun quickly changed the subject. Come on, let's go outside. Read the script right away, okay? You will do great, right? However, Sura couldn't help but worry. I've read the entire script already, but there weren't many action scenes. His hand like this must be from a newly added scene? Suddenly, a sense of unease began to creep into Sura's mind, feeling that something was wrong. Yes, sis, I've finished eating. I'm on my way back now. Have you eaten? It's probably late. Make sure to lock the door. Sura walked home, playfully teasing her assistant, don't worry, enjoy your date. Jin Kyung sighed, what did Kang Sung-hyun do after arriving at Seoul? Hearing his name, the lead actress's eyes lit up, I don't know. It's been a long time since he last met. An old colleague suddenly remembered something. Sura eagerly asked, you're with Director Mun, right? Kyung confirmed, then asked her, what's going on? She hesitated, thinking whether to say anything. I want to ask about the injury on his hand. If I ask, he will feel guilty. After thinking it over, Sura quickly changed the subject, I was just asking. See you at home later. Kyung found it strange but didn't ask further, letting her younger sister end the call. Sura trudged up the stairs, feeling dejected. She truly cared about Sung-hyun, but no matter how many times she asked, he never shared anything. This time he stayed in Seoul longer than expected. Anyway, she would persist. She finally reached her room, sighed wearily, and slowly closed the door. Suddenly, a large hand blocked the door. Sura turned around to see a tall, heavily clothed man staring at her. Terrified, Sura dropped her expensive phone on the ground. She quickly grabbed a nearby glass and backed away from him. Shaking, she held the glass defensively and stammered, who are you? Get out before I throw this. The man stood still, showing no intention of attacking. He pulled down his mask, revealing a bruised face. She immediately recognized Kim Chong-gu. He turned on the light with one hand and removed the mask with the other. Despite the scratches, he was still quite handsome. Chong-gu, in a reproachful tone, said, don't treat me like a monster. I need your help with something. Ignoring him, Sura, still frightened, said, I have nothing to say to you. I don't want to hear anything either. She was about to tell him to leave when he shook his head, exasperated, and threatened, do you want to talk outside? You're quite famous these days. Hanging out with a celebrity must be fun, right? It makes sense. She replied, all right, don't go. Wait for the police to arrive, then leave. She hurriedly searched her bag for her phone, but it was empty. She paused, remembering it was by the door. In her panic, she had thrown her fancy phone. Sura quickly rushed to pick it up under Chong-gu's astonished gaze. But as she grabbed the phone, he seized her hand. Chong-gu raised her hand, leaned in, and asked, Wang Sura, what is going on with you and Kang Sung-hyun? Shocked by the unexpected question, she widened her eyes and replied, what? Sura yanked her hand away, angry, are you crazy? You barge into my house and talk nonsense? Chong-gu insisted she answer, that night in Busan, even if you were flirting. Ignoring him, Sura quickly dialed her phone, calling 112. Chong-gu immediately stopped her, fine, I get it. I'll leave if you tell me if you're dating Seyoon-hyun. Sura looked at him suspiciously, will you stop judging and listen to me? Surprised by her offer, Chong-gu adjusted his emotions and agreed. It seemed he had gotten his answer. Disappointed, Chong-gu turned and left, slamming the door behind him. Sura hurriedly locked the door. She collapsed to the floor, fear etched on her face again, wondering, where did that bastard hear about this? Sura remembered seeing bruises on his face and the wounds on Sung-hyun's hand. She connected the two incidents and realized the coincidence, unbelievable? Chong-gu stepped out of the building where Sura lived, looked back at her apartment, and smiled with a pained expression, are they really dating? Wang Sura and Kang Sung-hyun. Sung's name kept repeating in Chong-gu's mind. He seemed unable to accept this truth, trying to reassure himself that it was just a rumor, and then decisively left. The phone rang in a cafe. Jin Kyung was quite surprised to receive a call from Sura and told the person across from her, I have a call coming in. Wait a moment while I answer Sura's call. Director Mun agreed. Sura, what's up? On the other end, Sura spoke seriously, Sister, I'm sorry, but you're with Director Mun, right? Kyung asked again. Yes, why? Do you have something to ask him? Wang Su was focused on looking at Kyung. But Sura insisted on her request. Can I talk to him for a moment? Wang Su stepped towards the car to talk on the phone. Sura, I stepped outside. Do you want to ask something about Seiyun Hien? Sura felt apologetic for interrupting their date and apologized. Wang Su politely said, no problem, so what's up? She hesitated, then mustered the courage to ask, Senior, what happened in Busan? Mentioning this, Wang Su became flustered and didn't immediately answer the main question. What exactly do you want to know? Sura didn't choose to tell the truth. She made up another reason. I saw that Senior's hand was injured. I heard he got hurt from an argument while drinking, but I'm worried if he's okay. Lying made her heart race, truly making secretive matters unsettling. Wang Su played along with her story and replied, Seiyun Hien said that? Was there an argument? She widened her eyes in disbelief. Wang Su added a few more details based on her words. Sura immediately lowered her voice, isn't that true? Wang Su, scratching his head and glancing around shiftily, hesitantly said, well, if Seiyun Hien said so, then that's how it is. He replied politely with a smile. On the other end, Sura couldn't hold back anymore and snapped, Brother Wang Su, I want you to tell the truth. It has something to do with Kim Chong-gu, right? Wang Su fell silent, knowing he couldn't hide it any longer, and confessed, this matter made Seiyun Hien very angry when I told him the truth. Actually, not long ago, I went to Busan to manage Seiyun Hien, and a few things happened. Wang Su recounted that evening. Sung Hien said he wouldn't attend the dinner party, feeling too tired and would instead go for a drink at the bar to relax. Wang Su didn't stop him, advising him to call when he got there. Seiyun Hien nodded in agreement. They parted ways like that. Seiyun Hien wandered into the bar and unexpectedly encountered someone he didn't want to see, Kim Chong-gu. He was engrossed in reading something on his phone, unaware of his surroundings. To avoid running into him, Sung Hien moved to another spot but was drawn in by an unexpected conversation between two strangers. Chong-gu, have you recently looked up Sura online when you had free time? He froze and eavesdropped. Chong-gu calmly replied, if you search, it's amazing, her face shows up on the front page. Yes, I was a bit curious. The tall and muscular manager, Miho, stared at Chong-gu, not understanding what he was thinking. Chong-gu suddenly changed his tone, turning to Miho and shouting, do you think I'm tormenting her too much? Miho, used to this crazy guy's instability, gently asked, did you do something to her audition? Chong-gu seized the opportunity to vent his frustration, it's really because she dared to slap me. Miho sighed inwardly, thinking, so tiring. But his ability to keep quiet was impressive. He sipped his drink and advised, anyway, stop it. Just because you dumped her to marry Miyang, you should feel guilty. Chong-gu angrily retorted, are you drunk? Why bring this up now? Miho replied, because of sympathy. You know Sura's situation. Chong-gu, far from feeling remorseful, grew even more jealous. Sympathy? Anyway, the company dropped her. How did Sura get into MK? Actually, I know Sung Hien, when she sneaked into his room, it was just her face. Seeing Chong-gu talking more and more wrongly, Miho hurriedly intervened, stop it. What if someone hears? And indeed, every word that madman uttered had been infuriating Sung all this time. Sung slowly approached Chong-gu, while the madman, who liked to play the victim, was still unaware of the impending disaster and nonchalantly retorted, who's listening? It's just us here. And he was wrong. A large hand grabbed Chong-gu by the collar and lifted him, making him scream in panic. Sung Hien looked at the irritating figure in front of him and challenged, speak up. Miho, looking at the person standing before him, was surprised by his appearance. Chong-gu, still in a daze, was startled and stammered in fear when he was pulled up. Seiyun Hien threw a punch at Chong-gu's face, knocking him backward. Miho, standing nearby, couldn't react in time and just watched. In pain and slightly drunk, Chong-gu, with no more restraint, immediately cursed, hey, you madman. This statement only fueled the already raging anger in Seiyun Hien, who quickly pinned Chong-gu down and started punching him. Seeing his subordinate being beaten like that, Miho, with his burly physique, stood dumbfounded for a moment. After regaining his composure, he ran over to intervene. Kong, stop it. This commotion is bad for both sides. Se-Yun-Hien glared at the intruder and ordered, go away. At that moment, Wang Su appeared at the door with a bright smile. Sung-Hien, you forgot your phone in your jacket. Then Wang Su's smile disappeared as he saw the classic bar fight scene in front of him. Terrified, Wang Su screamed, what are you doing, Se-Yun-Hien? After that, at the MK Company headquarters, Sung-Hien calmly ordered, get it done. Don't forget to add a threat, or I'll resign. Director Gu was a very principled person, so when he heard this, his eyes widened in disbelief. He sarcastically asked, are you going to slam the table again? Wang Su, with a twisted expression, replied, even though he's been beaten down, he's still not over it. Letting out a sigh of relief, the director burst into laughter. Seeing his satisfied expression, Sung couldn't help but ask, what's so funny? He laughed until tears came out, responding, this is too much. What could have made Se-Yun-Hien so furious, to this extent? Shouldn't we respect Kim Chong-Gu's face? After saying this, he continued laughing as if the fight was very amusing. Sung sighed deeply. After a moment of contemplation, Sung hesitantly apologized to Director Gu, the man with glasses, who immediately put on a serious and comforting expression. It's okay, Kim Chong-Gu, you can use that kid, so I can't do anything to him. The director proposed, then let's switch. Sung-Hien, surprised, right? He explained, anyway, Chong-Gu isn't easy to move hastily, so it's time to be careful even with the smallest sound. Seeing the unfavorable situation, Wang Su hastily commented, I think it'll be difficult to sue them, because the presidential candidate Kim Chong-Gu's father-in-law is close to Sung-Hien's father, so he'll understand. In that case, Kim Chong-Gu would be the one to feel. Sung turned to remind, oh, and don't let Sura know, including Jin Kyung. Wang Su agreed and looked out the window, contemplatively recalling Sura's acting scene, the tears falling on that beautiful face. Sung-Hien wondered if it was because of Kim Chong-Gu? In a tall building, the rooms still lit up. Sung-Hien was sitting in the living room reading the script when suddenly the doorbell interrupted his focus. Hien walked towards the door and wondered who could be here at this hour. What caught his eye was the petite figure he always longed for, the Sura. She was only wearing a thin robe, her face slightly sad. Sung-Hien felt worried seeing her and quickly asked why she was here at this hour. Sura only lifted her head to look at him, bursting into tears and falling into his arms. Sung-Hien immediately embraced her tightly. Sura buried her face in that warm and safe embrace, softly speaking, I have something to say. She confessed that she claimed to know Moon Mi-yang, which was a lie. Of course, she wasn't invited to the wedding either. She remembered the day that wretched Kim Chong-Gu met her to deliver the wedding invitation. That day, she was officially dumped by him. She brought her angry heart to his wedding, and their relationship ended badly, so she didn't know how to act in front of Sung-Hien at that time. Hence, she lied about knowing the bride. Sura held onto him tighter with fear and remorse. Sung-Hien gently stroked her head as Sura looked up at him, tears ready to fall. Sura sobbed, give me a chance to speak for myself, even though I'm thankful to you. Her gentle husband looked at her with a hint of surprise, then sighed softly. He gently wiped her tears away and suspected, it was Wang Su who spilled the beans, wasn't it? If so, I'll have to shut his mouth. Sura was still immersed in happiness, holding onto his warm hand pressed against her cheek, softly saying, I can't believe I've achieved what I have now. You don't know how much I cherish you. Sung-Hien leaned into her, burying his face in her, replying, I also can't believe how much I adore this naive, innocent person, but I hope if I ever do anything wrong, you'll get angry or not as you are today. I feel really guilty. Sura hesitated, a little afraid of getting angry. Sung-Hien comforted her, you don't need to get angry at all. She smiled with relief and stopped crying. Given the rare opportunity to be here at this hour, he pulled her inside. Sura immediately declined with embarrassment, saying she just came for a moment and because she couldn't meet him earlier. Sung-Hien acted slightly annoyed and worried, are you planning to leave at this hour? Since you're drunk, I can't take you home. Then he suggested it was already late and dangerous, so she should stay. Surprised by the invitation, Sura froze, her face turning red. She was too embarrassed to refuse outright, while Sung stared at her, waiting for an answer. Understanding the girl's concern, Sung raised his hand to his chin, saying, "I'm not thinking that way." His words startled Sura, making her blurt out, "What do you mean?" Se-yoon Hyun burst into laughter, teasing her, "You're having dirty thoughts." Realizing her slightly over-the-top reaction, Sura stammered, explaining that she didn't mean it that way, but her body became more and more tense with shyness. Seeing her amusing expression, Sung teased her again, "Of course, you didn't think that way, did you?" Sura quickly straightened up, trying to maintain her composure. Hyun looked at her with a gentle smile, then softly ran his hand through her shiny, long hair, asking, "Do you want me to think that way?" "You're so bold." His words made her officially explode, not just in her face, but also in her heart, feeling the heat rise. Angry and upset, Sura turned away, and Sung Hyun had to constantly apologize to make amends, transformed into a mischievous child, begging her not to leave and help him rehearse the script. "Stay and help with the script, all right?" he pleaded. Sura reluctantly agreed to stay. Later, Sung Hyun picked up the script and examined it carefully. "Hey, there's no sleeping scene in this script, Sura," he chuckled. His petite girlfriend was peacefully asleep on the cozy sofa, resembling a little kitten. She looked so lovely even while sleeping. Sung Hyun smiled affectionately at this precious sight, unwilling to disturb her. He guessed she must have been exhausted today. He gently carried her to the large bed and laid her down. "Please don't rush to adult details yet, as the story hasn't reached its conclusion," he advised. Then, Hyun gently covered her with a blanket, afraid to wake her up. But she wasn't deeply asleep like a child. Sura dreamily watched his warm gestures, overwhelmed with happiness. She couldn't believe she was loved so much, and he didn't know how much she cherished him in return. Sung Hyun gazed at her, gently touching her hair, realizing that just being with her gave him so much strength, so he loved her too. Finally, he placed a tender kiss on her forehead, full of reluctance, but eventually stepped out of the room, gently closing the door. The spring night was so gentle and serene.